Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Saturday Night Sleepover. I'm your host, Charlie, and today we are joined by my dear friend and teacher. I'm still going to call her my teacher, Kayce.
Hi.
Kayce is a badass midwife.
Okay.
And I don't know. And my friend, I did a year-long apprenticeship with her, and I've learned so much from her. And also, we've had some pretty great memories.
Oh, man. When you travel with someone in a car for a year, you're bound to have memories.
Yeah.
Like, oh, goodness. I still tell people, I was like, oh, yeah, you remember Charlie, my student? So you're not the only one that still says that.
Oh, good. Because I'm never gonna give that up. You're always gonna be my teacher.
I like it.
So tell me, how's your day? How's your week? How's your life?
My life is crazy. My children are crazy. My
Oh,
week is
yes.
crazy. Yeah, I'm not on call right now. I'm not on call again until February. So
Ooh, nice.
I
That's a sweet little
know.
break you got for like holidays. What are you doing
I
for holidays?
um I don't know. Um I think I think for Thanksgiving we're going to my parents, but I know that Blake's parents are finally have their house back in Lehigh, so he wants to go there, but I need new tires on my car. So I don't know about any of that.
Yeah, on the taco?
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
How,
the taco's fine. Well, so in July, um I was still on call because my client decided to be pregnant until 42 weeks, which
oh,
was crazy.
that is crazy.
I know. Um, so they went up to Verna without me for my family reunion, and on
Oh,
their way back, yeah, it's a whole thing. Um, on their way back, the Tahoe started doing weird things around Beaver, and it won't drive on the freeway, and we kind of fixed it, but then it keeps doing it, and so I don't trust it.
uh-oh, that's not good. Not the
Yeah,
taco.
not the taco.
We keep calling it the taco. We probably should explain that. Kayce drives a Tahoe, but we call
Yeah.
it the taco.
So my almost 11-year-old, when she was like, oh
Ew,
goodness, we
she's
we got
not almost 11.
she is right after Thanksgiving.
Stop. That's not
Yeah,
allowed.
I know. So when she was little, she was only 3 when we got the Tahoe, and she couldn't say it. So she called it the taco, and it just kind of stuck. So
Mm-hmm.
everyone calls it the taco.
Mm-hmm. Even me, and it's not even my car.
Yeah, like everyone. They're like, "Hey, how's the taco?" And we're like, "Wow, this is really just spreading through our town."
Yeah, don't mind the kids. Just tell me about your car.
Yep, pretty much.
Kayce has some of the most um personality filled kids I have ever met. Um her almost 11-year-old is going to be president one day of what country? I don't know, but she'll figure out a way to be she'll start her own country.
Yeah, either president or dictator. It could go either way.
Hmm. And then that's her middle child, and then her youngest is also he calls me Charlie Zero
He does.
because he has a friend named Charlie, but I'm older than his friend, so he calls me Charlie Zero, and the
And
other one is Charlie One.
yeah, and he still calls you that though. He's like, so I was like, oh yeah, I'm doing a podcast with Charlie, and he's like, Charlie, and I was like, yeah, Charlie Zero. He's like, oh, Charlie Zero, like fully in it.
And then her oldest is like going through the perfect like the emo phase, so they listen to emo music and go to emo concerts and read emo books.
Yeah, she's basically me in miniature.
One thing the listeners will want to know, because for some reason I vibe in the like fairy smut world, is that they Kayce is like my knowledge of all things fairy smut. I don't actually read these books, but if anybody needs recommendations, I text Kayce.
Yep, that's pretty much my life.
So, what is your current fairy smut that you're reading? Because we all know that you are.
So weirdly, I actually am. Uh, so
She
mostly
says
this year.
weirdly, like
No,
it's
weird.
not
Okay, so
a
this
standard
year
of
it
your
is
life.
weird. This year it is weird though, because this year I've read mostly queer romance,
Oh yeah.
um, which is a whole thing. But right now I'm reading the Demon Days and Vampire Nights series by K.F. Breen, and it's fantastic. There's 11 of them. I'm on number 8.
Mm.
And yeah, like the first 3 are about one character and her vampire partner, and then the next 3 are another woman with their mages, and then 2 right now, she's a fae, he's a werewolf. Well, he's a shifter. And then the last 3 are the first 2 couples again. It's very interesting.
Nice.
Yeah. And
Well,
it's not as smutty as most of my regular stuff, but it's really good.
who are you?
I know. I know. I mean, they have sex, but it's not like Court of Silver Flames where it's like 5% filthy.
One of my favorite stories about Kayce and Smut is the day that her husband tried to pick up
Oh
one of the
god.
books and she was like, just stop, just stop.
Oh, it was so bad. So that was in my reverse harem phase. If you
Mm-hmm.
guys don't know what a reverse harem is, it's one woman and lots of men.
Mm-hmm.
Like lots and lots of men. And this one was an embarrassing choice. Like, even I have a hard time with this one. And he picks up his Kindle and he's like, "Oh, what's this?" and opens it. And it opens to where I am in the book. And he just starts reading. And I'm just like horrified. The blood is rushing from my face. And I'm just like, "Please, you can't do this. Like, this is not for you." No.
Must
Yeah.
stop, not now.
It was so bad. And he's like, "Is this what you're into?" And I was like, "No, this is what I read." There's a
Yes,
difference.
that's funny.
Yeah, he's special. He's never made that mistake again. So there's that.
Yeah. How is all the midwife things right now?
You know, they're what they are. Um, like all of them left.
Oh,
We
all of the midwife? Who's them?
Everyone in this area.
Oh,
Like there's only 4 of us again.
yeah.
But
Sorry, I started a wave.
anyway, it's fine. No, it's good. Um, yeah, I am way less busy than when you were here, which is good for me.
Mm-hmm.
Probably bad for the area, but uh, yeah, I'm like only taking like 5 or 7 clients a year.
Mm-hmm.
I've had 7 this year. I had an almost outdoor birth, which was awesome.
Um,
Um, not
not
dirt
always.
birth. We are not.
Can you please tell the story? But I don't know. Maybe it'll traumatize some people.
It traumatizes me.
Kayce
Oh.
once had a client that she like. It was almost like a. She didn't even consent to being this person's client, really, or this
Well,
person's midwife, and
I did, but not the way she thought.
it was so this woman, it was like 40 degrees outside and she refused to go inside of her house, and
Well,
she
and it
birthed a
started
baby
raining.
in the dirt in the rain at 40 degrees, and Kayce was like, dude, you have to go inside, like I can't do this, I need my tools, I need to not be cold.
I need
And
light.
yeah.
Did you know that light is necessary when you're having a baby?
Yeah, at
Oh
least for
gosh,
the
but
person
seriously,
taking care of you.
you'd think, right? Oh god, it was awful. It was so cold. Oh my god,
Yeah.
and I was so angry. Like, yeah, yeah, so she's dirt birth,
Yeah, we call her
birthing in the
dirt birth.
literal dirt.
Yep.
And EMTs do nothing. They're useless.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's not even worth calling them anymore. I've learned my lesson.
Oh yeah, she did call the EMTs, but the EMTs were asking Kayce what to do.
Yeah.
in
Like I
that
ended up
birth.
using the ambulance for heat for the baby because the mom refused to get in it. And then they ended up bringing the baby back out. She was living in her van, which I didn't know. And so
Yeah.
that was a whole other level. But they're like, the baby's hungry. Can we bring him back outside? Seriously, 40 degrees at 3 a.m. in the rain. I'm like, yeah, I don't think they had brain cells.
Yeah. Anyway, that's probably the most ridiculous birth that I've ever heard of. So not all like physiological births are like that. Just for the listeners who know nothing about that.
Yeah, I've never actually been a part of an outdoor birth. And I was like, oh my gosh, I could totally do this. Because I've had a couple clients that are like, yeah, I could birth outside. And I'm like, yeah, in the daytime, let's do this. But like, I didn't imagine it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. My client, her baby's only a couple weeks old.
Mm-hmm.
And they were living in a tent while they renovated their house. And like, I talked to Brenda, my best friend, about all this. I was like, do I take this client who wants to like do this? Like, and she's like, but do you just have trauma from dirt birth? Because this new client's not lying to you. And I was like, that's fair. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So she ended up birthing in the house. They finished it like 3 days before she had her baby.
Perfect.
So
Baby
yeah,
knew
it
it.
ended up not. She almost like had the baby on the toilet. It was crazy, and we barely made it, which is like the theme of my year.
Yeah.
I've been at every single client I've had this year, except for one. We've been there for less than an hour before the baby was born.
Wow.
So yeah, it's been a weird year. One of them, we were only there for 11 minutes,
Jeez.
but her labor was only 42 minutes. So
Oh, wow.
yeah,
So
we
you were
got lucky.
technically there for like a third of her labor.
Right? Like we walk in and I was like, oh, okay, we've got this all set up. And I was like, oh no. Like, okay. And then just catch a baby. And yeah, that was an interesting time.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What has been your both most magical birth this year?
This year.
Mm-hmm.
Probably my one in July, the 42 weeker. Like,
Mm-hmm.
she's a repeat client and I love her dearly.
Is it the one I
Like,
know?
yes.
Mm.
Um, and her toddler is the cutest child I've ever met in my entire life. Like, I'm a big fan of toddlers. Toddlers and teenagers are my jam. I love them. Babies and like everything else in between, I could throw away. But like toddlers and teenagers. But my toddler is in love with my 16-year-old, and my 16-year-old is my assistant currently. And so, like, they are just the cutest people together. But yeah, she wasn't this pregnant with her last baby, and at and like we thought, I swore she would have her baby like early. Like
Mm-hmm.
all the signs were there, and I would see her every week, and I'd be like, "How are you still pregnant?"
She had her last baby like 38, right?
Uh-uh. No,
Oh.
she was 41.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Yeah,
It seemed
but
early.
it seemed early, right? Like she seemed put together.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and I swore that she was gonna like baby dropped like all the signs were there, and then she was still pregnant on her due date, and she was still pregnant a week after, and then like I finally was just texting her every day saying I'm sorry because I was like, wow. I mean, I'm normally wrong about lots of things, but normally not about when a baby's going to be born.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so it was actually the day my family got back from the family reunion. So I met them on Minersville Highway because the taco wouldn't go on the freeway.
Mm-hmm.
And as this is all happening, she's texting me and being like, "Hey, so this is happening." And I was like, "Of course, I'm not home right now." So we get home and like luckily she's like, "Oh well, no, it's not that big a deal yet." She had her mom with her and her husband, which is what she had last time too.
And her mom's really great.
Oh, she's wonderful.
There's some pretty nightmare stories about moms at birth, but that one, she's really wonderful.
She really is. She's one of my favorites. Like after her first baby, I was like, "Can you come to all births with me? You're amazing." Like just the connection she has with her daughters, but then also just how she was at this. This was my client's first baby was the family's very first home birth. No one had ever seen a home birth. No one had ever had a home birth. And it was her first baby, which is also like a rarer thing. Most people don't choose a home birth for their first baby.
Mm-hmm.
And so like the whole thing was, and yeah, all brand new. The mom had been to every one of her grandkids' births, which I thought was pretty cool. Like I didn't want my mom at any of mine, so I thought that was a neat relationship that they had. But she ended up texting me later that evening, saying that like things were getting started, and so I headed down. And this time she did have a water birth. She wanted one last time, but water just was not working for her. So, and her first baby was born in her sac, which was super cool. And the video I have for that one is what Charli lovingly calls my porn star view. So,
well,
like,
listen, like the angle is like,
oh, it very much is.
It's very porny.
It is very amateur porny. Yeah, very much. Like I had a tripod set up in the other room, and then she decided to go in a different room to have her baby, and I had my phone off because like the labor was it was like 8 hours from start to finish with that baby. So like, but I had my phone, I was playing on it, and then she just starts pushing in her bedroom. So I lean it up against the wall. And so
it's like
it's
up
very
angled.
Yeah. I mean, it's super cool. You can see like the sack and everything that's coming out, but it's very porn star. Yeah. It is definitely not a beautiful birth video that you would share on the internet.
Yeah.
So for this baby, I get there and she's in the pool and it's in her living room, and they had bought a house in between her first two. Her first was actually born in her mom's house, which was pretty cool. So I get there and she's laboring in the tub, and it's pretty rough, but her husband he's hilarious. We get along in a weird way because we have nothing in common. Like he's Republican and I am so not. And they're very, very LDS and I am so very not. And like I swear, like a sailor, and they do not. But somehow I work with these people. And he's a police officer and I also struggle, but like somehow this all works. So him and I are hanging out, and I've got my phone on my tripod and it's recording, and because as soon as I get there she starts pushing this baby out. And it's recording, and he's, for her first baby, her mom was in the back by me and her husband was holding her. And so this time she didn't want her husband to touch her. And so her mom is holding her while she's leaning over the side of the pool, and he's standing in the back, like pacing like a dad does. And I'm like looking at him and telling him that everything is fine. He's like, I know it's fine. I was like, okay, I'm just going to chill then. So it's okay. So her first baby, her mom actually told her as the parts of the baby were coming out, oh my gosh, I could see the head. I could do all this. And this time it was her husband that was able to. It was the cutest thing ever because he's like, oh my gosh, I can see his eyes. I could see his nose. Like, it was so cute. And after he's like, oh my gosh, the whole head is out. And like, he's just narrating this whole experience and he is so excited about it. And this man was not excited about having a home birth the first time. Like, he was resolved to it because she wanted it. And this man loves her more than anything else on this planet. But he was not thrilled about it. And this time he was so in it that when he was there for prenatals, he's like, hey, so what else are we doing? Like, he was so excited.
What else do I have to fix or build?
What's going on? I'm gonna put in new floors. Like, he was ready. And so he's like explaining everything as this baby is coming out, and she's pushing, and finally and I don't catch a lot of babies. Like, if the baby's born on land, like I call it, not in water, a lot of times like I'll catch if the mom isn't catching or if the dad isn't there to catch, but it is not something I do very often. And so baby comes out, and I just tell her to sit back, and the baby's still in the water, just swimming around. And she's just looking at her baby. Like most people, when the baby is born in the water, they're like really quick to bring the baby up to the surface. And she's just like looking, and the baby is totally fine. So everyone knows the baby is in an aquatic environment inside of you. So when they're born in water, they're not going to try to breathe until their face hits air. So she's just looking at her baby and slowly reaching down, and she just looks so peaceful, and she slowly brings him up. It probably takes her about 30 seconds to bring him up to the air,
Mm-hmm.
and then she just looks at him and she says, "I love you." I'm just like,
Aww.
"I know." I'm just like, well, now I'm a crying mess, and her mom is crying, and her husband is crying,
And she's
and
like,
and
guys, why are you crying?
right? She's just like looking at this adorable baby, just, "I love you. We did it." Like, and she kept saying, "We did it." And I'm just like, are you kidding me? Like, she's this young 23-year-old that is better at life than I am. And yeah, that was magical. She's magical. I
She
love
is.
her.
I can confirm that.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's important that people hear stories like that, because birth doesn't have to be this like crazy, like we almost died every single time thing. It can just be that everybody's happy and excited and loving this new baby that is coming to the world. And I think that that mom in particular like embodies that feeling. But also you had another client that was one of my clients before, and I think she also embodies that too, just
Oh,
like
very much so.
this is what I was meant to do, and this is how it's going to be, and it's totally fine. And she just goes into it totally confident, and I'm like, that's so awesome.
Yeah, and she had her baby last September,
Mm-hmm.
and her second baby, and that was one of the strangest births I've ever been a part of. Because most people, when they get to the end of labor, they are very quiet. They're sleeping in between contractions. They're snapping at people if like you're making too much noise, or they don't like where you're touching them, or like, and not snapping in a mean way, but just very forceful no,
Mm-hmm.
like, or stop. Like, that's all they have brain power for, is those. And but she didn't. She was talking to us in between contractions. We were
Mm-hmm.
only there for an hour before her baby was born.
Mm-hmm.
And she's just looking at us, and she's having a full conversation in
Mm-hmm.
between everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then she would have her contraction, and then she would come right back to the conversation. And I was like, I don't understand this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm here for it, but what? What?
That was pretty similar to her first birth too. She was like all the way there, and the thing that she was the most mad at, because the first birth I was with her while she was at the hospital,
Yeah.
and she, because so I don't know if the listeners know this, but I'm a doula. And I don't talk about it that much because I don't do it in my everyday life, but at one point that was my everyday life. Especially whenever I was Kayce's student.
Yeah.
Because I was acting sort of in both capacities whenever I would work with Kayce. But anyway, so at her first birth, I was her doula at the hospital, and she knew exactly what she wanted, and she was like communicating that all the way up until like baby was being born, and that is totally unusual. But I remember the thing that she was the most mad about from her first birth was that she was like, they made me get on my back and I didn't want to be on my back. And I'm sure she just like said, am I gonna have to be on my back? Like the whole time she was your client.
Pretty much. And I was like, I'm not even going to touch you. And she's like, I like that. And I was like, okay. Like, she ended up doing most of her prenatal care herself. I only saw her a handful of times
Mm-hmm.
because she was like, why do I need you? And I was like, I don't know. Why do you need me? And she's like, exactly. And I was like, okay, you can chill.
Mm-hmm.
So, and her partner was so on board with all of it too, which
Which
is really cool to see.
that is cool to see,
Is
because he was
opposite.
not on, like, he was very similar to the other situation where
Uh-huh.
the husband was like, okay, we'll do this because you want to do this. But then there was a very specific moment in her birth. It was when she was flipping over on her back that he looked to me and he was like, we didn't plan for this. I don't know what to do. And so I just like gave him like eyeball cues. And then from that moment on, he was like, yep, she was right. This is totally great.
Yeah, like He was so awesome, and he was so in it. He was so chill at the birth too, which
Mhm.
is really cool to see. Most dads are chill if it's like their fifth baby.
Mhm.
But like he was just so chill and just doing whatever she needed. She was really mad in this labor for one reason. Counter pressure did not work.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so at the end of every contraction, she's like, "Why isn't it working?" It's like,
Well,
"I'm
because that was her
sorry."
saving grace. Like me,
Uh-huh.
me and him for her first birth, it was me and him, and it was just like a workout for 8 hours where he and
Yeah.
I were just like helping her get through it with counter pressure. So I can see exactly why she was mad that wouldn't work.
Yep. She was so angry because nothing was helping, and I'm pretty sure it's because this labor was only 2.5 hours
Oh
long. Like,
yeah.
her body was in it, and it worked and, she was born the day after her due date. Like, her first went over 42 weeks,
Hmm.
and this one was the day after she was due. We weren't expecting it that soon, but, yeah, like, she was just so angry that no matter what we tried, it was not helping,
Hmm.
and
Well, it's
yeah.
probably because it was helping, but she couldn't notice it because her body was going so quickly.
Right? Yeah, but, like, she was in the pool and she did amazing. Caught her own baby, which most people do if they're in the water, and delivered her own placenta later, and, like, and then walked upstairs and got in bed an hour after birth. She's like, "No, I'm fine." And I was like, "You are a rock star. Is this what it's like to birth a baby when you're, like, 21?"
Hmm. Yep.
Like,
That's why I'm like, oh man, I already know if I ever get pregnant and have a baby, I'm in the 30s club for my first one.
uh-huh. Like, you
Oh,
can just tell they are a lot tireder.
you're as a person living in the culture we live in, I can conceptually see that it is better to wait. Culturally, it's better to wait to have babies, I think, in my own personal
Mhm.
opinion. But your body was definitely made to have babies, like from 16 to 25,
Yep.
because the 16
Like,
to 25-year-olds that we've helped, it's been like, oh yeah, I'm fine. But the like
yeah.
over 25-year-olds that we've helped have been like, guys, I just ran a marathon.
And they got off the couch.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and like it's harder to feed yourself. Like, you need a lot more nutrients when you're older. And like, it probably helps that a lot of our like older people are on their sixth baby. So
Mhm.
like their body's fairly depleted anyway.
Mhm.
Like, and so but yeah, it's just rougher, and their pain is higher during pregnancy. Like,
Mhm.
they just have a lot more when they're older.
Mhm.
Yeah. Most of my both of my clients next year are young.
Mhm.
One of them is 23,
Mhm.
just turned 23, and then the other is another repeat client, and she's late 20s. It's her fourth baby. So,
Do I know this one?
yeah, she's the VBAC after two. Um, maybe she went to 40, almost 43 weeks with her last baby. He was born
What's
just her first name starts with an S. Uh, oh gosh, she's in Washington. I'm trying to think
uh
any modify. She had her baby like right when you moved,
okay.
like right after you moved
Okay.
in April.
Okay. I don't think I ever met her, but I know of
I
her.
don't, yeah, you didn't.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. She had just barely started care with me. Gosh, I think it was around Christmas
Mhm.
because I haven't even seen her yet this time, and she's due in March. Yeah, she doesn't like to see anybody until after 20 some weeks.
Mhm.
So she texted me when she got her positive,
Mhm.
and she's like, "Hey, I'm gonna need you again." And I was like, "That's cool. Let me know when you want me." And she's like, "Oh, I will." But yeah,
Yeah. The one thing about Casey is she's a midwife that she's like, if you don't want me there, like I'll just sit in your driveway.
pretty much. I bring knitting and my iPad and my phone and my Kindle, and yeah,
It sounds like
like,
she's not doing anything, but she really is doing a lot of things. She's watching and
yeah,
observing and figuring things out and like diagnosing you from the driveway.
pretty much. Like, my client that almost had her outdoor birth this month, they wanted a free birth, which is an unassisted birth, like not having any providers there. I actually had that with my last two kids. I didn't have anybody there except my best friend and my husband. And they wanted that, but he was worried about like keeping the outside energies outside the house. And so when they interviewed me, they're like, "So, what are you gonna do during this birth?" And I was like, "I'll do whatever you want, first off, but I have pretty hard lines. I don't like doing vaginal checks. I don't check heart tones very often anymore either. I think I've only grabbed my Doppler like 3 times this entire year.
Wow.
And when someone's in labor, yeah. And it was only with one client because she was bleeding in every contraction, and I was like, "What is happening?" Um, and everyone was fine. But yeah, like it's not a thing. I've changed quite a bit in the last couple of years, but um, and you guys can't see my hands, but there's a midwife that tells people that midwives aren't there to hold space. It's not like you're holding a ball, it's like you're holding out. So, like, you're holding everything outside of the birthing space. So, the people only have to like think about birthing. You're taking care of like anyone that's trying to come into the house. You're taking care of animals, making sure they stay out. You're like cleaning their kitchen. I clean their kitchen fairly often. I make sure they have water, make sure they have food, like taking care of everything else while they just focus on birthing their baby. And he's like, "That's exactly what I want." And I was like, "Yeah, I hold your to-do list." And he's like, "Oh, that's perfect." So I was like, that's kind of what I do. I was joking with another midwife here yesterday. I was like, so because I'm a fairly free range parent as well. Like if my kids want to go play outside, I send them outside and I don't go with them. Um, like it's not how I parent. I'm like the opposite of a helicopter parent. So I was like, is there a word that would encompass like free range midwife? Like
Mm-hmm.
you do what you want and I'm there to pick up the slack. Like, yeah. So, but yeah, I do. There's a lot that goes into labor sitting with someone.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot of work. I remember, so my favorite memory of Charlie at a birth was we were at a client and we loved this client. Like this woman had so much trauma and she would just like talk about her life and trauma bomb us and we're like, that's not normal, right? Um like she was hilarious. But we're at her labor and all of a sudden she like gets this look on her face and then all of a sudden Charlie is right there with a puke bag. Like I
Yeah.
didn't even know Charlie went and got a puke bag. Like, and it was underneath her face right as she starts puking, so she didn't puke in the tub. But like I don't even know when Charlie did it. It was like magic. Like
Yeah, after you've seen enough people puke, there. It's like your soul wakes up in the middle of the night when the dog's about to puke. Like I know, and that is a life tip. If you ever go to the hospital, they do not check those. Like if they leave
no,
you
they
alone,
don't.
if they leave you alone at the hospital, they don't check those vomit things. I fully have taken vomit I would go to the hospital a lot at my old job when I worked at mental health because I mean uh,
Yeah.
they would hurt themselves a lot
Yeah.
in different ways. And so I would take those kids to the hospital every probably like once every other week, and I would every single time I would just like swipe one of those barf bags out of
Mm-hmm.
the thing. I have like a lifetime supply of those barf bags.
Me too. I go to the hospital when babies die, which is another fun thing about me.
Mhm.
But I end up in labor and delivery, and every single time, whoever I'm with is just like, "Are you gonna take those again?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna take them again."
Mhm.
Like
They're free.
yeah,
It's like hotel
yeah.
shampoo. Always take the hotel shampoo. What are you going to do with that? I don't know, but
You never know.
you got to
The
take it.
apocalypse will happen.
But listen, the barf bags are actually way more useful than the hotel shampoo because, like, I put them in my car. I have used
Mm-hmm.
it in my car. Like, I was giving somebody a ride and they got car sick, and I was like, "Don't throw up! Don't throw up! There's a barf bag."
Yeah, I have them in my car. My youngest gets car sick.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have a stack in my middle console of my car because I know that he is going to puke eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they are the best things. They're like the folded down and you just plop them open and they hold quite a bit of puke.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
and then you just twist them and throw them away.
Mm-hmm. And it's
It's
done.
amazing. Yeah. Like, oh, those bags are my best friend.
Yeah. And Like it sometimes is just like meant, because sometimes I get car sick even when I'm driving. And so I'll just like pull it out and I'll be like, all right, this is okay. I'm safe. It's like my
Yeah.
safety blanket.
Like, I'm not going to puke on the steering wheel. I've got a bag here. And your body's like, oh, never mind. I don't want to do that then.
Yeah. I just wanted to be a pain in the butt.
Yep.
Yep.
Pretty much.
Yep. Well, I didn't know that was your favorite memory of me at the birth.
It is one of my favorites just because I was just like so in shock. I was like, that was a magic trick. And I am so impressed. Yeah.
Well,
you were cool to have at birth though, and at prenatals and everything else. Like you would say what I was thinking when I couldn't like be mean.
mm-hmm.
And I loved that.
Yeah, if you're gonna be my friend, you're gonna know how I what I'm thinking, because there's no keeping it inside.
Yeah, none. Yeah, it was really fun. And seriously, we spent so much time in the car, guys. Like
mm-hmm.
that year I had a much wider radius than I do now. Now I only go an hour at most.
Mm-hmm.
But then I would go anywhere within 100 miles, which could be an hour and a half, or it could be 2.5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And I did do that. So
we went to some very
and
interesting places and saw some very interesting things and talked about
yes,
some amazing things.
I learned all about Charli's life.
Yes.
Like, and yet after a year of this, and I do all appointments in people's houses. Like we drive for every appointment, and I learned all about her history, and she still found ways to shock me. I was like, no, her childhood couldn't be worse than this. And then it would be.
It wasn't all bad. There's some cool. It's a dichotomy. You got to hold them both. But yes, there was
true.
some bad.
It was fantastic. But we also had some really cool conversations, like not just about birth, but about lots of stuff. And she introduced me to horrifying shapeshifters.
Oh, yeah.
At Skinwalker Ranch or Skinwalkers or whatever. And I still freak out and I can't handle that. So,
well, I don't think we've talked about it on the podcast. Does everybody know about Skinwalker Ranch in Utah? Because it's like the most haunted place in Utah.
Yeah. I mean, it's in the middle of nowhere. No one wants to go to Duchesne County.
Yeah, okay.
Even the people that live there don't want to be in Duchesne County.
So Duchesne County and the city of Vernal, I think it is.
Vernal, yeah.
Like 70% of people that live in that town have had an alien encounter. So it's not just ghosts, it's aliens, it's other dimensions, it's like government conspiracies, like, and it's all surrounding on this ranch. You should look it up sometime. It is wild.
Yeah, they had like skinned animals or like the animals and like surgical scars on animals with organs removed, and like no one was there, and like babies that are being watched all the time, baby animals that are being watched all the time suddenly disappear, and then they show up later with their liver removed and stitches, like stitching it back together. It's freaky.
Originally it was just a regular ranch where people were trying to raise cows. But then the cows like ended up like all of this crazy stuff, and they would see like toucans and like paradise birds or like tropical birds like in the trees and stuff. Like, how did they get there? There's like portals. I don't know what it is, but there's something serious about that place.
And like I live in the desert, but Vernal is more of a desert. Like you look at the pictures of Skinwalker Ranch, and like when we say trees, we mean like sagebrush. Like you can see 20 miles because there's nothing there except flat land, dead grass, and some mountains in the distance. Like there should not be tropical birds there ever. No, yeah. She made me listen to a podcast.
Yeah,
didn't sleep for days.
Yes, we listen to many a podcast. And that's one of my favorite things about road trips too, is that like you one of you is definitely not on the phone, and so if the other one is not on the phone, then you guys have nothing to do but talk, and you can't run away. So I subjected Kayce to all of my stories, even with or without her consent.
was awesome. Like, I mean, when I'm alone, I listen to music. When my oldest and I are driving, we mostly listen to music. We did listen to a few podcasts, going heading to and from concerts this year, but mostly it's music. But I prefer the talking. I stay awake better if we're talking. Yeah,
And
especially middle of the night.
Now I have a podcast, so you can still take me with you.
I know, and I do. I flew to Portland in April of this year to meet someone that I've known on the internet forever and ever. And on my drive down to Las Vegas, I'm listening to Charli and Kenzie talk about anus waxing and laughing my guts out. And like, it's 2:30 in the morning, and I'm like, this is exactly how I should be driving. Like, every time I should only be listening to Charli.
Basically. Well, we have some pretty cool stories too. One time we I swear, guys, I don't like, I'm always consensually naked with these people. It sounds bad. But one time I convinced Kayce to get naked and swim in a hot spring.
A hot spring. Okay, so backstory for this, guys. I don't like being naked. If I could shower with clothes on, I would. Like, naked is not my thing. And Charli and my best friend love being naked. Like, that is their primary way of living life. And we had just been at a birth, and it was a stressful situation. And so I head back out to the car, and an owl almost killed me when I went back out to my car as well. So it's fine. Everything's fine. She had owls living in her tree, and they had babies, and they were flying all over the place.
It was a wild situation.
It was wild. So I get back to the car, and they look at me, and they're like, we're going to a hot spring. And I was like, okay. At this point, I knew not to argue with either of them. It's just not worth it.
We had decided, with or without you, we're going to this hot spring.
Exactly. So we get to the hot spring, and we hear voices. Later, we ended up finding out there's 3 separate hot springs, and each one is warmer and shallower than the last. And we ended up finding the one that was fairly deep and was like a little colder than like a bathtub. It was really nice. And we heard voices and stuff, and it's pitch black. There's a full moon technically, but it was pitch black. And we were like, oh, well, I guess we could just like swim in our underwear. But then we're like, no, that's stupid. So Charli got us all naked.
Consensually. I think that's an important ad.
I mean, it's true. I did consent. And it was really cool. Like, floating in this weird water place in the dark,
because
naked.
I feel like not only was like a hot spring, but I also feel like it was like salty water or something, because we were floating.
Yeah, it did not take much energy to stay up, which was really cool.
That's what she said.
But yeah, but I've only ever had 2 people get me naked in public, and they were Charli and Brenda. Like, Brenda, my best friend, did it once before. We went and celebrated Beltane by Tokerville, by the Virgin River in Tokerville, and she got me topless. But that was, I did it to make her happy. But yeah, so it only happened twice, and I am what people call a never nude. So, yeah, but she did it.
How was Brenda? Did she finish her house?
Almost. So they just ordered their carpet. They're doing like the finishing touches for everything now.
Do they live in it yet?
No. They were hoping by Thanksgiving, but now it'll probably be closer to Christmas, hopefully. Might not be till January.
Brenda has been building a house for like 3 years.
So they broke ground last May. So 2022, May in 2022. And when we say she's building her house, we mean she is literally building her house with her 2 hands. Like, they hired a man named Dale, which is really funny because my dad's name is Dale, and we call my dad Dalelicious because he hates it. And so Brenda started calling this guy Dalelicious too. And so when I met him, I'm laughing with him. He was their framer. So they actually ended up paying someone to frame the house, because they're like, you know what? This dude is so fast. Let's just make this happen. So, and then he did some other work and stuff with them too. I think he did their porches, and then their roof. But His name is Dale. And I was like, hey, Dalicious. He's like, oh, no, not you too. I was like, yes, absolutely, me too. But yeah, she's like literally building this with her own 2 hands. Like she's had help from her family. Her dad helps her every day because it's on her dad's property. And they actually built his house with their own hands. So like she's done this before.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they're getting close. Her bathroom is beautiful. It's black and white. Her tub is so big that you could fit 2 people in it.
Nice.
Yeah. And so yeah, it's just finishing touches, which are the most annoying part. Like all the carpet, all the like counters, appliances, all of those extra things.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really good. Like she's crushed it.
Good job, Brenda.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, I haven't seen her much because she's been doing that every day.
Yeah. Well, it's been a long time coming for her.
It has. Yeah. And she's been living in a barn. So
okay. There needs to be some context. Like I've been to this barn. It's like a barn with an apartment attached to it.
Yeah. But we call it a barn. And she was actually really sad when they moved in there that she wasn't having more kids because she could have been like, you were born in a barn. But she does regularly tell her other kids, what, were you raised in a barn? Because
they were.
It's hilarious. Yeah, it's like the weirdest barn because you can't actually, it's a tiny door, just a regular door to get in there. And then it's like 4,000 square foot airport hangar kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't you can't bring in anything big. You just go in this small door. And like they have an arena and they've got horses and stuff on the property and stuff too. But it's a weird setup.
Yeah.
Yeah. People with money are weird, guys. I don't know. They make weird choices.
I can confirm that.
Yeah. Weird choices. I don't know. But yeah, she's doing awesome. She just had her oldest here for a few days this week. So
our Glade and because Kayce's oldest and Brenda's oldest are
besties.
like besties sometimes, but then also frenemies sometimes.
Yeah.
As
they're besties this year.
Teenager.
Yeah. They're besties this year. We actually took Becca to her very first concert in May. Nice. So that was really fun. My best friend doesn't like music, guys. So Brenda does not like music, and music is my life.
Mm-hmm.
Like if my TV isn't on, there will be music on.
Mm-hmm.
And she doesn't like it. And so I've been introducing her oldest, actually all of her kids, to music, and she hates it. And I think it's fantastic. But yeah, we took her to, it was technically just the Colorado City Music Festival,
mm-hmm.
Which was amazing, by the way.
You would not expect that for Colorado City.
Right? But it was amazing. It was their 8th year.
Listeners that don't know about like Southern Utah, Colorado City is the Colorado City.
Yeah, where like the Warren Jeffs
Colorado City. Yes, that's a real place where there's a real polygamous compound.
Yeah. Like they have this old park. They actually have a Renaissance fair. Mm-hmm. Like full on jousting and everything there now in September.
Wow.
But they have this music festival and they've had it for 8 years and it was awesome. It's music from 10 a.m. until midnight. Mm-hmm. And really cool bands, and they get some local people, but they also bring in people from all over the world. And 2 of our favorite bands were playing there. And so I found out about Citizen Soldier. They're one of my favorites. They're actually from Salt Lake. And so I found out they were coming and I was like, we got tickets, let's go. So we went down and saw them. And then Royal Bliss was the closing act, and they're from Salt Lake as well. And St. George, like kind of both, but it was cool. But yeah, Colorado City. Who knew?
Not me. Yeah. Have I told you about Calling All Captains yet?
No.
You should look them up. You would like them.
Okay, cool.
I have, I can't look up what app. I'll look it up on the computer because I can't close the app. I think it's like Never Getting Better.
Okay.
So albums. No. Albums is what I gotta Google. Slowly Getting Better.
Okay, cool.
That's the album that I listen to. Like, I could listen to it on repeat, and I feel like you would too.
Awesome.
And they're Canadian. I feel like you love Canadians.
I do. It's a weird thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe it's because I love hockey and they're all Canadian. But yeah, cool. I will definitely give them a listen. Like, we have music playing all the time. I've made like 82 new playlists this year.
Nice.
And I have to say, and maybe I'm biased, but my playlists kick so much ass. And like, I'm good at the music thing. So calling them captains. I'm excited now. Yay.
Yes, you will like them. Share your. Oh wait, no. Do you do Spotify?
I do.
Gosh, I'm old and I do Apple Music. I would
You're
like.
so
I
weird.
would like your or your what are they called? Playlists.
My okay, cool, done.
Oh, dang it. Do I have to get a Spotify?
I don't know.
I don't. I've held off for so long because I'm an old person. That's just how it is.
I know.
I saw a video recently, and it was like a person. They said that they were dancing with someone younger, and the younger person was like, "Put your hands down. You look like an old person when you're dancing." And I'm like, if you don't have your hands up when you're dancing, like, how do you dance? And so apparently that is a feature of getting old, is dancing with your hands up, and I didn't know that.
Oh, that hurts. Did you know Mr. Brightside is 20 years old?
Ooh, I did not know that.
Yeah, that one caused me physical pain. I got hurt a little bit.
I really do think that early 2000, like, I know that people get into whatever they were in when they were a teenager, and then that's what they're into for the rest of their lives. But I really do think that our years of teendom had exceptional music released at that time.
The noughties have the best music. Like, I love 90s stuff. I love pop. I love it. My music taste is incredibly eclectic. But my formative years were emo and alt rock, and the noughties is just some of the best stuff.
You're gonna have to explain that word to me because I'm too
the
old.
noughties, Noughties. It's 2000s, early 2000s, because it's the 10s and the 20s. Noughties. Yeah. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I do think, well, there is some merit to like 70s music and stuff, like, and earlier people in 90s music and stuff, but the early 2000s had like the best emo rock. Like, you cannot compare it to anything else, and emo rock is its own thing, and I feel like every teenager can relate to emo rock because, like, every teenager is an emo, like, whether you subscribe to it or not, you are, because that's just part of human development.
Exactly. And like, honestly, most of my music is still emo rock, but like pulling in a lot of weird other things too. Like, one of my best friends went and saw Indigo Girls this year, and I am so jealous. Like, she says it was the gayest concert she's ever been to, and I was like, man, it's the dream. But
to go to a gay concert.
To go, like, just to hang out with all of these other queers. Like, one of her midwife friends was there with her wife, and like everybody in this audience was some flavor of rainbow, and it was just like, she lives in Portland, so
of course
it's kind of already there. But like, yeah, it was, she brought her middle child who's just figuring out who they are, and so she's like, this was exactly where they could have been. So I was like, one day I will see the Indigo Girls in concert. Like, my concert list has gotten really long. Like, I had never been to a concert before July of 2022 ever in my entire life, and now I have been to like 14.
Because Kayce gets obsessed with things. Kayce, you didn't notice.
I do. And I realized that they're freaking awesome. And
concerts?
What better way? Yeah. What better way to celebrate my life than to be with a whole bunch of other crazy people that love the music I love? Like, and I don't drink, so I actually remember them, unlike all the people that were at Sum 41 in August. So.
It is true. Concerts are core memories.
Yeah, it's been awesome. So,
do you like Warren Zevers?
I do.
Because he is coming to my favorite venue in Northwest Arkansas.
Of course he is.
Also, I tried to get you to come to your other favorite band, Alter
I
Bridge,
know.
at that same
Okay.
location.
I know, and I was on call because my life is stupid.
When do you go back on call? You said February?
February. Yeah.
When February?
I don't actually know. I know that she told me she needs me in March, but she might actually be due in February, and because I don't know her due date.
Because Warren Zeters is coming in February.
I'm going to Portland in January. Is he going to Portland in January?
I don't know. But how are you going to Portland, but you haven't come to Arkansas yet?
I
tell you to come to Arkansas like every day of your life.
I know.
Rude.
I know it's rude. Yeah, my I call her my waifu, WAIFU. If any of you guys are nerds or geeks, it means fictional.
Hello? Are you still there?
Our loving endearment. Yeah, sorry, you hear me?
You cut out.
Anyways,
I got
where'd I cut out?
It means and then
it means fictional wife.
Oh, okay.
Like it's an anime thing where you're like, oh my gosh, that's my waifu. Like you're super attracted to this anime woman, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's that. So that's what I call her, and she calls me the same thing. But we've been best friends online since our oldest were like 3, maybe or 2. That was in the days of Twitter. Dead naming Twitter now. So yeah, so she actually introduced me to one of my favorite authors who is her best friend and is now one of my best friends as well. And so we try to see each other. The first time I met her was in April of this year. And we spent a weekend in an Airbnb with her and Annabeth Albert. Highly recommend Annabeth Albert, one of my favorite queer authors ever. But they want me to come again, so we've planned Martin Luther King weekend.
Okay.
Yeah, and Glade's coming with me this time.
Nice.
So all the teens are going to have their own section of the house.
You know, my sister that you really should have been more friends with than you were with me.
Your super nerd one?
No, she doesn't. Yeah, she does. She totally does.
That's crazy.
I should set you guys up on a friend date.
Dude, she needs to go to Salt and Straw.
Okay, I'll tell her.
It's an ice cream place. It's like it's bougie. Oh my gosh, every time I hear the word bougie, I think of you, by the way. So it's so bougie. Like it is incredibly expensive, and they have the weirdest friggin' flavors, like saffron honey. Like and they're weird combinations, but it is the best ice cream I've ever had in my entire life.
Dude, I'm totally I'm commandeering your friend life, and I'm making you be friends with my sister because you truly would be a match made in heaven.
Yeah. Like your sister dressed up as the cast of Firefly. We are made to be together.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a very nerdy sister who tries to outdo anybody on awkward family photos. Like that is her goal. And she subjects her 4 children to this.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but yeah, Salt and Straw. She needs to, if she has not ever been there, she has to go. It is so good.
Okay.
Oh, so good.
Well, yeah. Portland listeners, go to Salt and Straw.
And Straw
for Kayce, so that she can live vicariously through you.
Yeah, you can even order it online and have it shipped to you.
Nice.
It's a big deal. But yeah, they are some of the weirdest name flavors. Like they have a goat cheese apple right now.
Dude, you would there is an ice cream place like this where I live. I could just take you there.
So you're just trying to talk me into coming to Arkansas.
Yeah, they have one called Happy Goat. It's the same thing. It's like
nice.
Yeah, and then the other one is that I really like is Rosemary Peach. So good.
Yeah. Are you hearing this?
I don't know. I just heard I'm losing my mind or something.
That's my youngest.
Whispered by a child.
He is playing Slime Rancher on his Switch and came in. I am losing my mind.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, yeah. He's special. Oh, my crap. I had my eyes closed and it just came in to hug me.
Oh.
did not see her until all of a sudden she was touching me, so I'm good now. Okay.
Okay, well, it sounds like you've got some things going on, so it probably is a good time
They've realized I'm awake. Yeah.
It's a good time to end, unless there's anything else you want to add.
I don't think so.
Okay, well, thanks for coming on today. As always, subscribe to the podcast, and you can find information. You can find merch requests. You can find sponsorship requests, and you can tell us your stories and all sorts of fun stuff on sleepoverpod.com. And if you want to reach out to Kayce about midwife things or other things, where do you want people to find you?
My website is Moon Tree Midwifery, MOONTREEMIDWIFERY.com. And that's the same for my email, just that at Gmail, or my Instagram handle is the same thing. So you can find me on anything.
Yeah, she's the best. And she has all of the knowledge.
I'm pretty good at the knowledge part. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming on today. I'll talk to you later.
Thanks for having me.
Okay.
All right. Love you.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.